So then we have two options. Actually, you have three options at the very bottom of this screen. Cancel if you've messed everything up and you don't want it at all, cancel it. We have save, which saves everything you've done for you. And we have save and publish. If you save and publish, then it is available. The students can see it. So we're going to go ahead and select save and publish. Down at the very bottom under the assignments. Yep. So that's how to create a very basic assignment. I used file upload, and I did not restrict what types of file that they're uploading. So if you give them their assignments from the book, they'll write them out, they can take a snapshot of it and submit it that way to you. Scan it somehow and get it up to you. The other thing that you're going to probably want to be doing is quizzes or exams online. It's very similar to assignments. So again, on our left-hand menu bar, we're going to click quizzes. And we go up to our green button at the top and hit add a quiz. So we went to quizzes on the far right side, or far left side. The quizzes.
Below. It's
Yep.
You're below where.
And then add a quiz. We're going to give our quiz a name. And again, we have the same type of field that we had for an assignment where you can put in all of the information that they need to know before they take this quiz or this exam. Canvas uses the same word for quizzes and exams. It just depends on how you define it. So if I were making this an exam instead of a quiz, I could type in exam here instead of quiz for my title, just to make it easier for me and the students. All right, we're going to scroll down. Most of the time we're going to do a graded quiz. There are other options in this box, surveys or practice quizzes. Again, if you want more information about those, we can talk about that later. We're going to organize it in our quizzes section. Shuffle answers works with things like multiple choice. And what it does is shuffle, again, it shuffles the answers that you give them. So if you're used to doing things like A, B, C, D, E, all of the above, then you don't want it to say shuffle, you don't want to do shuffle answers. But what it does do is kind of help if you've got two students that are sitting next to each other, they'll see the answers in a different order if you click shuffle answers. We can set a time limit. So if you normally give your quizzes in class and you allow students 15 minutes, we can tell them that we only get 15 minutes for this online quiz, or you can set an hour. The time limit is up to you. One thing students need to know, and most of them do, is if you set a time limit, once they open that quiz, the timer starts. So if they open the quiz and then they go out to their book to try to look up the answer, or they go off to find their calculator, that timer is still running. Even if they go out of the browser and come back in, the timer is still running. They close it, it's still running. Yep. If I closed it and I went off to the restroom, I came back, I would, whatever time I was gone from my computer, my timer would have gone through that. So it prevents things like, oh, I know what the question is. Now I'm going to run off and look at the book and come back an hour later No, can't do that. So I'm going to set my time limit in minutes for 15 minutes for this one. If you want them to have more than one attempt at a quiz, which is fine. I mean, it's a teaching philosophy where you let them do a practice quiz and then quiz again. You can click allow multiple attempts. And then it will give you options as to what you keep the highest score, if you keep the average, if you keep the most recent, and how many attempts that they're allowed. If you need more, I'm kind of pushing through because we've got several more things to cover. The next one option we see is let students see their quiz responses. So once they've entirely submitted the quiz, which means they can't change it, then they could see how they answered and they can see the correct answers using these options. And you can control that. You can show correct answers at and hide correct answers after. If you only want them to see those answers for a short time period or a day after the quiz is given, then you can set those time frames. Show one question at a time. Again, that's just what it sounds like. You see one question, they answer that, move on to the next one. So if you have questions that build on each other, that might be a good option. And require access code would only work if you want them to have a password to get into the quiz. So that's a little bit more advanced. We will slide past that one too. Except any of these write down questions, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have and work with you one-on-one. But I've got several more things we kind of need to get through in this hour. The assign to works the same way as assignments. So assigning individual students or all students, setting the due date, and setting the time limit. Time limits available from and until it's more common to set those for something like a quiz. And again, if you once you're done, I almost forgot. We have a quiz, but we have no questions in our quiz. Questions are important for the quiz. All right, so let's scroll all the way back up to the top of our quiz. And we see details, and then we see questions. So we're going to click on the question tab. And this is where you would build your questions in the quiz. There are tools if you have quizzes and exams that are already built and you have them in Word or something like that. We have a tool called Respondus that can help you upload those directly into Canvas, creating a question bank. But again, that's something we can do at a later time. So we're going to create a question for our quiz. We're going to click on the New Question button. You can give your question a name if you want to. You have several different choices of question types. It comes up, default is multiple choice, but you can use true, false, fill in the blank. You can have essay questions, matching. Those are whatever option you want. We're going to go with simple true, false for this one. And then you set the number of points per question. Every time you create a question in the Canvas quiz tool, it defaults to 1 point per question. So that's something to watch as you're creating your questions. If you want them to each be worth 5, you need to set that every time. In our editor window, this is where you would enter the question itself. Actually, I'm going to change this back to multiple choice because there's something I need to show you with that question type. So in this question, this is where we would type in our question. Okay, for everyone who doesn't know, LOTR is Lord of the Rings. And, you know, and I'm jaded because my husband's an English teacher and he teaches fantasy and sci-fi. So that's my question. What is the name of the wizard in Lord of the Rings? After we've typed in our question, and you could put in that box, you can put in images. So if you have an image of an equation or an image that you need to share, you can put in videos. They could watch a video clip and answer a question about that. You can put anything in that question box. So I'm going to scroll down where I have my answers. And it didn't change back for me. So I'm going to say, I'm going to put my answers down here. It will let me add more answers. Now you'll notice that right now it's telling me that Pete is the correct answer for what is the name of the wizard. And that's not correct. So I need to be, but that's how Canvas defaults. Every time you create a multiple choice question, it always defaults to the first answer being the correct one. To fix that, I simply scroll down to my answer, my correct answer, and you'll see it kind of comes up with a light green arrow there now instead of a brighter green arrow. And I click on that, and now it is changed, Gandalf, and if you don't know, that is correct, to the correct answer. Okay, we good so far on that? You can also, in your answers, this little pencil button in Canvas generally means edit. I get a little editing screen right there. I could go in and change the answer there. I could also add a video. I could add anything in that I can put in my question box. I can add videos. I can add links. So if you have this equation goes down into this equation. Yeah, reduces, there we go, that's the right word, reduces into this equation, and have several options for that with images for them to use as multiple choice. When I'm done with creating that question, I need to make sure to hit the update question, or everything that I've just done will go away. So I would go on creating questions until I'm done. When I go back to my detail, or when I see up here, you'll see my quiz is now worth 5 points. Canvas adds those up for you, depending on the values you gave it per question. Go ahead and save that. We're going to go ahead and save and publish. Any questions on simple quiz creation? That sounded like a frustrated sigh. Mm-hmm. I just did. No, so if I go back into my quiz, I need to add a new question. I can hit edit here where the pencil is and go back into the questions section and hit the new question button again. I can create as many questions as I want that way. If that depends on how we had it set in detail. If I've clicked show one question at a time, then they will only see one question at a time. They'll only see each question. They'd answer that, then move on to the next one. And I can also then click this lock answers, so you can't go backwards. You can only go forwards. Yes, sir. Yes. Yep.
And then for like essay questions, they just type in their answer.
Yes.
And grade it then.
Yeah, let's go ahead and we're going to create a new question, and we will select essay question type. What do you, yeah. what the big difference with things like fill in the blank and essay questions, Canvas will not automatically grade them. If it's a multiple choice, a true false, matching, Canvas will grade those. But if I have a mix in my course, in my test, that's fine. It will grade what it can, and then it will flag you by the student's grade that you need to actually interact with this question.
Oh. That's all fine if you have essay questions that can be answered by putting words.
Mm-hmm.
If they're supposed to be working out equations and solving something, are we better to just upload a file that is a blank test and then have them write answers on a piece of paper that worked out stuff and then scan it in and have that after upload?
In that case, probably yes. You would create it.
Here, I don't think that is on.
It's not, yeah, the quiz tool is not meant to upload something. So if you need to have them upload, use that as an assignment. Just name the assignment exam 1. And then you can, right. So let's see, what else do we need? Let's skip to settings right now. If you go to, let me show you, if you go to your home page, you'll see right down here, there's student view. This will, if you click on student view, it shows you your course as a student would see it. So if we click into student view, our students will see that there's right now that they have a homework that's due by midnight on March 20th, and that there's a quiz. We did not give our quiz a date. If we had given our quiz a date, it would show up there. So they can keep track of that way. They can also click on these and it will take them directly to that homework or that quiz. It's a simple way to organize the course. If you like it, if you want fancier stuff, we can do that, but not today. Students will also see a lot of these. Sorry, I should have stayed in student view for a second. Students will see these menu items here to the side. Everything unless you hide them from them. And the way you'll know if it's hidden is this little eyeball kind of icon with a line through it. And you can adjust what they see, what options they see, and what options they don't see. So most of you are going to be probably doing Panopto or Zoom in some way. So if we want to make sure students can see those options in their menu bar, we scroll down to settings, way down on the left-hand side. And then we go to, across the top here, we'll go to navigation.
Yeah, thank you.
Everything here is what students will see. So right now, if I don't want them to see something like outcomes, I can grab that and pull it down here into this bottom section. Or I don't want them to see conferences. Again, I grab conferences, drag and click, or click and drag it down here into this bottom section. Anything that's in this bottom section that I do want them to see, I do the exact opposite. So Panopto I'll pull it up here into my main menu, and I'm gonna do the same with Zoom. And anything you change there, you must scroll all the way down to the bottom and find the save button, or it will not save your changes. Oh, we've got 8 minutes, okay. One thing I really do need to show you is the gradebook. So every time you've created an assignment or quiz in Canvas, it will create a column in your gradebook. So if we click on grades, right now I see I've got two assignments. I've got a quiz here and I've got a homework. And then these here where it says quizzes, homeworks, and exams, those are those categories we created in assignments. So everything that's in the quiz section, it will total up and put in that quiz category, quizzes category. same for homeworks, and same for exams. And if you scroll all the way over to the end, it will give you their total for the course. To grade something like if it's something that you're going to hand grade, we want to go into a tool that's called Speedgrader. And we can, the easiest way to get to there is from, let's go into our homework assignment. So we can click here in the gradebook to go to homework assignment, or we could have clicked on assignment to get there. And you'll see right here, it says Speedgrader. If you click on Speedgrader, it will start you off with your first student that has submitted, and then let you scroll through all the students that have submitted. So there's arrow buttons right here that will let you scroll through all your students. So you can grade one, you can read, it will show up, if we have something, it will show up right here in this section. You can grade it, make comments, put a point value in there, and then scroll to the next student and do the same thing. This is also a drop-down list of your students. Show you something. We don't have much. Have anything up here I can show you. I took everything off my. Sorry about this. There we go. So in grades, this is one of my sandboxes. I could flip through, if I was going to grade this attendance quiz, you'll see everything there is red. All those people are late. But if I want to go in and grade this attendance quiz, I can go into Speedgrader. And here is where I could change their grades. Scroll through to the next student. Or I could go directly to this drop down and switch down to another student. This also, if you need to make comments on what you're seeing, like if they've uploaded a doc file or a PDF, you can do that within Canvas as well. And do any of you make comments directly on your files? You do? You don't know?
I've not used it this way.
Right. So, well, I mean, if it's something you do, if you have students turn things in and then you generally write comments, we can do that one of two ways. You can either print it off, write it like you're used to, and then upload it again into Canvas for them to see, or we can use the Canvas Speedgrader to make comments directly on the file. And we're running out of time. I want to make sure that we have anything that we've covered. Do we have any questions? Okay, I've got about 3 minutes. Any burning questions anyone has right now that we haven't covered? Let's talk about publishing. So Canvas has different levels of publishing. Let me get rid of this. So you'll see these little green check boxes. If it's a green check box, that means it's published. So then anyone who has access to the class can see that. If you want them to not see that, so if I don't want them to see anything about quiz 1 until a certain date, I can unpublish that. You still can see it, but the student cannot. We can also do that with files. So if it's something you've stored in files, you see all these green check boxes. So I might not want them to be able to see week 16 files until closer to the date. If I unpublish that, if I click on that checkbox, it gives me the options to publish, unpublish, make it available only if you give them a link or set a date for it to become available. So if I click unpublish, then students will not see that file or anything in that file. Works again on the file level itself. I think we uploaded something in here. If I don't want them to see, if I want them to see everything in that folder except my crib sheet, I would unpublish it. You just need to make sure that you remember to publish it again when you want them to see it. Does that answer? Oh, so they got it from the last semester's course? Yes. By default, anything you create, anything from past courses, if the student is enrolled in that, was enrolled in that course, they can see that content. There are settings that we can set that will limit that and say it's only available to, the course is only available to a certain date. So we can, if that's an issue, we can go in and set that on your old course. All right, we are out of time. If you need to go see, you're welcome to stay again and hear the same thing. We have Zoom and Panopto. And again, we'll also be back here from 1 to 2 to answer individual questions. Oh, right now?